Mr. Chairman, thank you for holding, again, this markup today. And like you, I'm concerned about addressing this important issue, from addressing the instances of mass shootings to combating the scourge of firearm violence plaguing our urban communities. I stand ready to work with you on sensible solutions that actually could prevent these atrocities. What I am not willing to do is support legislation that will not do anything to make us safer and simultaneously infringes on the rights and liberties guaranteed by our Constitution. Unfortunately, all three of the bills that we're considering today do just that. First, we'll be considering H.R. 1236, the Extreme Risk Protection Order Act of 2019. While this bill may seem like a common sense measure, it is flawed in far too many ways to be worthy of this committee's support. 5 months ago, in an interview, one of the statements that was given by the chairman, and you said this to one of your hometown papers: "My original motive in politics from the time I probably was 12 years old was civil rights, civil liberties, and due process. And I've always concentrated on them, and that has never changed." Well, I'm not sure what's changed, but the bill before us today has serious due process problems. Namely, the bill allows for confiscation of individuals' firearms without notice or an opportunity to be heard. Even more egregious is the fact that the ex parte determination can be made when a judge finds there is a reasonable cause to believe the individual possesses a danger to himself or others having access to a firearm. Reasonable cause is not even probable cause. It's certainly less than clear and convincing evidence. Do we really want to surrender Americans' constitutional rights to such a low standard without giving those citizens notice or an opportunity to be heard? What other rights are we willing to sacrifice in this manner? The ex parte proceeding standards are not the only flaws in this bill. For a permanent order, the court must find that a preponderance of evidence that the individual possesses a danger to himself or others by having access to a firearm. We don't convict people of petty crimes by a preponderance of evidence, but my colleagues are willing to take away a constitutional right with merely a finding of preponderance of the evidence. Ours is the committee charged with protecting due process and every constitutional right, not eviscerating them. Yet the defects in this bill continue to emerge. Once the court finds a person too dangerous to possess a firearm, what does the bill indicate the court should do? Does it provide for some sort of incapacitation, detention, evaluation, or provision of mental health services? No. In fact, the bill is silent. It does nothing to address the person's possible illnesses or instabilities, even though the court has just determined him or her dangerous enough to be stripped of a fundamental constitutional right. I suppose we should all just hope and pray such dangerous individuals don't have access to any other things that would allow them to harm themselves. If they do, then this is sort of a waste of time. H.R. 1236 allows a person to petition to take away any other person's Second Amendment rights with a court order. There is no required nexus between the parties. They don't even have to know each other. In light of that, it's unthinkable that this bill doesn't require a law enforcement officer to independently substantiate the claims, and there are no penalties for making a false claim against anyone. These are just a few of the myriad of problems that this is found in this bill. I've seen and heard statements from some of my Republican colleagues indicating that we'd be willing to consider red flag legislation. Unfortunately, the proposal today is so flawed that not anyone committed to looking at the errors that we have just laid out would be supportive of that. I have said this before, there are ways that we have worked together in the past. This is not one of those. This is another issue in which I think the harm it is found here, not discussed probably as much today as will be, is something that will again work to, as the chairman sort of alluded to, make us feel better about what we're doing, but in the end, not actually help in those situations in a real way, and in many ways could actually add to the problem. And with that, I yield back.